What is up, you guys? LB back from another video, and I saw Sonic Movie 3 last night, opening night, first showing. That should show you how devoted I am to Sonic. Yeah. And so here we are now talking about it. Now, I'm going to be talking spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie, then I suggest, go see the movie first and then come back here. I mean, unless you don't care, then, I don't know. The main point is, there's going to be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, yeah, I'm going to be spoiling the movie. Oh yeah, Shadow shirt. I feel like I should let y'all know that, because I feel like most of the other times when I wear it, I don't let you guys know. Always not to like the beginning or end, or the end specific, I don't know. But there, now you know. So, going into Sonic Movie 3, I was very excited for this movie because as far as the Sonic Cinematic Universe goes, which is, the movie universe, I really enjoyed it so far. I think the first movie was a lot of fun. I think the second movie was better. Wasn't a big fan of Knuckles, to be honest, but I know some of y'all were. Speaking of Sonic 2 and Knuckles, I do have them back here, just, I'm like in front of them, so you can't really see them because the rest of the thing is, you can see the Sonic 1 steelbook there, but, when I'm like talking to you guys, you can't really see. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but now you know they're there. But yeah, going into this, I had a lot of hype because, of course, we were getting introduced to Shadow fully, and if you guys don't know, Shadow is my favorite character in the Sonic franchise. So I was really excited to see him. Of course, being played by Keanu Reeves, I thought was great. We heard this movie was going to be very similar to Sonic Adventure 2, which is my personal favorite Sonic game. I absolutely love Sonic Adventure 2. So that got me excited as well. And just, the trailers and everything leading up to it got me excited. So I saw it. What did I think? It was great, man. It was great. No other way to put it. It was awesome. I do have a few minor issues I want to get out of the way real quick, because after I slept on it, because I was going to make my review last night, but I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. So, thinking a little bit about the movie after having seen it, I do have a few minor issues, one of which being an issue that's actually the exact opposite of an issue I had with Sonic Movie 2, which was for Sonic Movie 2, I feel like that movie was a little too long, just because obviously we had the wedding subplot, which was about 10 minutes, and then we had the bar dancing, which I did not like either of those at all. So I kind of just made the movie drag out a little bit, so I felt like if they would have cut those two things out specifically, then, I feel like the runtime would have worked better. I feel like here, though, considering we had no human, side plots, which I was super happy about, considering we had none of that, I think, this movie could have definitely worked with at least another 10 minutes, maybe 15, but I think if you swapped Sonic Movie 2's runtime with this movie's, I think that would have, worked better. So I do feel like it was, I don't know, if there were certain points where I feel like it was going a little too fast, like the beginning kind of and the middle specifically. I feel like towards the end, though, it's perfectly well paced, but I feel like those first two acts feel just slightly too fast, but it's nothing too major. It's just, I wish we got to spend just a tiny bit more time, with the story and everything. I also feel like some stuff was left unanswered, specifically with Gun, because I feel like, because with Gun, they pretty much, established here that, yeah, Gun has been around since Shadow was first created back 50 years ago, but of course, I remember in movie 2, they said that Gun was created after the events of the first movie, so, I mean, I don't know. As far as I can remember, they didn't, mention that at all. So maybe I missed it, but I don't think I did. I feel like they didn't mention that at all. That oh, Gun has been around for 50 years, but it went into hiding, or no one really knew about it until after Sonic Movie 1. I don't know. I feel like that was kind of left unanswered. I also wasn't big on Rockwell, that character. I feel like, I don't know, she wasn't bad, but I feel like she didn't really do much. I feel like they were kind of not hyping her up in the marketing, but I don't know. I don't remember now. Because, I mean, she got no footage, but she got her own poster, so. But aside from those minor issues, everything else is great. The opening was done really well. Seeing Shadow escape was great. And then when we started getting those little quick flashbacks of him and Maria, I was like, all right, this is going to be good. And then, he broke out. The action scene was pretty awesome. And, it was a great opening to the movie. And again, it is surprisingly fast-paced. Literally, we get to Sonic and friends meeting Shadow, not even 10 minutes in, I don't think, which was crazy. I was gonna go scene by scene, but now thinking about it, I should talk about, certain elements specifically. I'll still obviously talk about scenes, but let's talk about the characters, all right? Let's talk about how the characters were handled. I feel like the human characters, the non-Sonic human characters, to be specific, not including, Eggman, I feel like the human characters, Tom and Maddie, actually worked pretty well here. I've always liked them, honestly. I know the people don't like them. I feel like they're a little bit overhated. to be honest. I mean, I know there's the wedding subplot that they were a part of, but you know, I still like their characters, honestly. I've always liked their characters. And, you know, I think the roles in this movie worked very well because they're actually, you know, a part of, oh, it's not too, like, first off, they're not even really in it for like the first half. It's more so towards when, you know, they're trying to break in the gun. You know, I think that works pretty well. It also worked well with how they integrated Rachel and Randall, who are technically not even really in the movie, but, you know, they, you know, transform into them. You know, I think that was a good reason for us to see them, at least. But so I enjoyed them. Obviously, I've always enjoyed, you know, Tom and Sonic's relationship specifically. I think Eggman, once again, was great. Probably at his best here, I'd say. You know, Jim Carrey is just, you know, I think great as Eggman. You know, you go back to the first movie, it's basically just Jim Carrey playing Jim Carrey. But I feel like as these movies gone on, he's definitely become more and more like Eggman. And I hope we see him again, but we'll talk about that obviously once we get to the ending. And of course, Jim Carrey also played Gerald, which I was pretty worried about going in, you know, just because obviously in the games Gerald is long dead. But honestly, I think Gerald was pretty good in this movie. Like, yes, he's pretty silly throughout most of it, and I do think most of his scenes with Eggman are actually pretty funny. But yeah, he is pretty silly. But then by the end, when you find out that, you know, it was all pretty much just an act. Like he was, you know, that he never really actually cared for Eggman, and that Maria was the last person he truly cared about, and he wants to, you know, destroy Earth and kill everyone, including himself. I thought it was a great twist because at that point he had then like become like Gerald, who was more of the serious type of Gerald. I mean, yeah, there was like the spanking scene with him and Eggman, but for the most part, he became more serious, and I think that really made up for, you know, the stuff earlier on where he's being more goofy, because it made sense because he was, you know, using Eggman. So I think that was pretty smart of them to do. I also think that Maria was handled really well. I think Alia Brown, I hope I'm saying that right, but I think the actress did a great job as Maria. It was cool seeing her for, you know, a couple of scenes. I thought that was great. Agent Stone was pretty good. He's definitely my favorite, you know, non-Sonic character in these movies, so he was once again great, you know, and it was pretty sad seeing him, you know, be neglected and, you know, just sad with, you know, Eggman, and just, you know, because obviously, I mean, he's technically always been neglected by Eggman, but in this movie, you finally feel truly bad for him because obviously Eggman is, you know, more focused on his granddad, and then when Stone tries telling him that Gerald and Shadow are planning something else, he just like, oh, no, fuck you, not that, but, you know, you know, yeah, it was, I think that moment was pretty sad, but then it was also pretty nice later on when Eggman like had that message on the screen thanking Stone and telling him he was a great partner. I thought that was really great, and, you know, made me happy for Stone. And for the trio themselves, the main trio, I think Tails was pretty good. I think he definitely got to do more here than he did in movie 2, which was great to see. I think Knuckles was pretty good, and he was very funny once again. And Sonic himself, I was kind of worried about going in just because, you know, I've wanted all these characters to like grow and, you know, mature more, but Sonic specifically I've been wanting to see that of, because I really like Sonic in the first 2 movies, but I've just, you know, I've really been wanting to see him grow up more, mature more, obviously still be the fun, jokey, whatever the word is, Sonic that we know and love, but also, you know, be mature when he has to be. And I think he definitely does in this movie. I think, yeah, he still makes his jokes, which can be fairly funny, or even pretty funny. I think some of the jokes in this movie aren't the best, but then there's other ones that are actually pretty funny. I do think Sonic in this movie, especially by that third act, it's like when he has to get serious, he gets serious. So I think this is by far Sonic's best movie as a character goes, and, you know, it's been cool seeing him specifically get better and better as these movies goes on, and I'm hoping we get to see that again with movie 4, 5, 6, however many more they do, because I think so far they've been doing a great job with evolving Sonic's character specifically. And then Shadow himself, just perfect. That's all I have to say, is perfect. They did him true justice. I feel like Keanu Reeves did a great job in the role. Of course, him riding his motorcycle was pretty cool, and just him pretty much beating up Team Sonic was funny, and just, it was, I don't know, that was funny. And I think they handled his backstory with Maria extremely well. Yeah, it was a little bit different. Like, for one, they weren't on the Ark this time, which was interesting, but I didn't mind that. Then, you know, they didn't like spend their time on the Ark. It was more of like some gun place on Earth. But I freaking loved all their scenes together. I thought that was great. As far as Maria's death go, yeah, they didn't do it. I feel like we all should have expected it, and we all started to expect it, but I feel like from the beginning we all should have expected that we weren't going to get, you know, yeah, we didn't get that, but I think the way they handled it was still pretty good. You know, she died from an explosion. You know, we still basically saw her die, sort of. So I think they still did a pretty good job with her death, even if it wasn't, But yeah, that was pretty well handled. And yeah, I just think a lot of the characters in this movie, almost all of them at least, like again, I brought up like Rockwell. I don't think she was, I feel like she wasn't that great, but I feel like everyone else was handled very well. Even White, I thought was handled well, who got like 30 seconds of screen time, but still, his scene was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny how Knuckles was telling Sonic, "Oh, you have to, if you want the emerald, you have to get past someone who's like, he's saying this. Why can't I talk? He's telling Sonic if he wants to get the emerald, he has to get past like this big giant warrior whatever, and then it's just Wade, which I thought was pretty funny. And yeah, and as far as like the acts of the movie goes, again, I think the first act with obviously Sonic, Tails, Knuckles going up against Shadow, teaming up with Eggman, the Chow Garden. I thought the Chow Garden scene was pretty cool to see. Obviously the Olive Garden gun guy got hurt, and then that guy like creates conflict with Gun, which I thought was a good way to do it instead of just like having Gun think that Sonic is Shadow. I thought that was smart. And of course the second act was really good too, with them trying to get in the gun, or them getting in the gun successfully. Of course Eggman's there too. I just think the first and second act are really good. Again, like I said earlier, it is a little fast paced, I feel like, but it was still fun to watch. Now that third act, y'all, I kept hearing about how great the third act was on like Twitter, and so going into it, I was trying not to like get my hypes up too high, because I feel like whenever you do that, you tend to be a little bit disappointed. So I was definitely keeping them on the lower end, not like lower end, but to like a minimum. If that makes sense. I wasn't trying to like go skyrocket high of how the final act and just the whole movie itself was gonna go. But man, that third act was great. So first off, we get Supersonic like right away, which I was not expecting. I was thinking, the Chaos Emeralds weren't going to come into play till like maybe like the middle portion of the third act. But no, they were there right away. Of course, Sonic becomes Supersonic, goes up there, attacks Shadow, and then they don't even fight in their normal forms. They both fight as Supersonic and Super Shadow right away. And then we get that shot from the trailer where Shadow says, "This ends now." Where, like Sonic's like trying to punch him, and then Shadow's like that. Like, because in the trailer, they're both in their normal forms, but in the movie, they're super. So I think that was a great idea for them to do, was to like change that in the trailer. Because I don't think they've done that before for the Sonic movies, right? I don't think they've like edited anything like that major. I mean, if you want to go back to the very, very first trailer with the old design, like, y'all remember with the old design, like the scene where Tom catches him and he's holding the ring. And that trailer, he's not holding the ring, so I guess that was the only other time, I guess, if you want to count that. But I think aside from that, though, this has been like the only other time they actually like changed and hid something in the trailer. So I thought that was great. So then we get Supersonic and Super Shadow fighting each other, which I thought was a lot of fun to watch, especially with like the dialogue going on, because obviously earlier on, Shadow hurt Tom because he thought he was the Olive Garden gun guy who was there at the beginning when Shadow was created. And so obviously Sonic's really pissed about that. And, Shadow's telling him that like Sonic's basically becoming him. That like, Sonic's now all for revenge against Shadow because Shadow hurt someone he loved. And that's what Shadow's been doing this whole movie, is he wants revenge for what happened to Maria, someone he loved. And I think that was a great way to, just show the similarities between these two. Because, it's basically Shadow going like, "Oh, you're becoming me now. So why is it wrong for me to do what I'm doing when you're now doing exactly what I'm doing, pretty much?" Then, of course, they fly off to the moon, where Shadow becomes normal Shadow again. And then, Sonic's about to go for the final blow. And then Sonic remembers what Tom told him earlier, which is something very, very similar to what Maria said to Shadow earlier on from 50 years ago. Then you have a nice little talk on the moon, and I could see people comparing this to movie 2 with like Sonic and Knuckles, but I think it is a tiny bit similar, you could say, but I feel like it still works better here because, I feel like, honestly, I prefer the speech here with each other than I do with Sonic and Knuckles, because I think just the talk they have with each other here, with how similar they are, I think was beautiful. And like seeing the sun rise up over Earth too, I thought was a great detail to add. So yeah, I think their talk with each other on the moon was great. Then of course they decide to team up to stop Gerald specifically because, you know, obviously Eggman has found out that they're trying to destroy the Earth, not rule it. So then, what do we hear? We hear Living Word. Dude, my god, I fucking gasped when I started hearing it. I was like, I fucking gasped, dude. Like, I was thinking we were probably gonna hear it in the movie, but still, dude, when I started hearing that play, I got so freaking excited. And then we see Supersonic and Super Shadow start flying towards the Ark. It was so freaking great. And then we do cut to a scene with like Gerald like spanking Eggman, which is kind of funny, but it, you know, I feel like it could have not been there, but it was still kind of funny. And then, yeah, just Supersonic and Super Shadow going at it on the, like all the drones or yeah, in space. And then we get the Sonic Adventure 2 iconic pose, which was so cool because we just saw that like not like a month or two ago with them in Sonic X Shadow Generations. So now seeing it on the big screen. Dude, I'm losing my mind just talking about that third act right now. Just, God, I need to watch the movie again. I really need to, just for that third act alone. Obviously, the first tracks were really good as well, but that third act. Oh. So that's all going down. Tails and Knuckles show up to help Eggman stop Gerald, and then Gerald just straight up dies, which was kind of funny. Then they need to stop the beam from hitting Earth, to which, of course, Supersonic and Super Shadow start pushing the Ark towards a different direction, to which it then hits the moon, which means they pissed on the moon. Funny. Then Sonic, who's out of his super form, starts to fall down to Earth, and then Tails comes down and saves him. He, you know, starts passing out as well, and then Knuckles comes down and saves them, which I thought was great. But then Shadow and Eggman, they remain up there. They were stopping the Ark, which is about to explode. Super Shadow's pushing as far away as he can, and Eggman's, you know, trying to help us out as well. And that's, of course, when he sends the message to Stone. And supposedly, or more than likely, Eggman does die. You know, I mean, if the Ark would explodes. So seems like Eggman is indeed dead, which if he is dead, I think that was a good sacrifice for him. I think that was a good way to, you know, end his character arc if this is the end. Like I said, I do hope we see him again because I feel like Eggman is just extremely crucial to Sonic. But hey, if this is the end of Eggman in the Sonic cinematic universe, then hey, he went out on a great note, so that's great. And obviously we have other villains, which we'll be talking about. Then, of course, Shadow also presumably dies. But come on, you've seen Sonic Adventure 2, or the games afterwards. Or should I say play? Yeah. So then the world is saved once again. And then, you know, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have their race again in the woods. You know, Tom's recovered. Everything's good again. They have their race. And then that's it. The movie ends. And yeah, like I said, I thought it was great. Has a few minor issues here and there, but for the most part, this is easily the best movie in the Sonic trilogy. I absolutely loved it, and it makes me super excited for movie 4 because we go into the first post-credit scene. We see Metal Sonic. We see Metal Sonic, and he looks like ripped straight out of the games. Like all the other characters look great, but Metal Sonic himself, he looks like literally like he was just ripped out of the game. He looked amazing. Then we see there's a whole bunch of them, and I am curious to see how Metal Sonic exactly is created, because obviously a big theory has been that the reason Eggman was collecting Sonic's clothes was to create Metal Sonic, but obviously Eggman now is presumably dead. So it makes me wonder, did he like create Metal Sonic before he died? And like has him like had it to where he would be ready to attack Sonic after he died? Or did someone else create him? Like I'm very curious to see how exactly Metal Sonic is created. And as all the Metal Sonics are about to attack Sonic, we see Amy. And like I just knew Amy was going to be the next character they introduced, but still seeing her was so exciting. You know, like, you know, because obviously like you see the pink, like, you know, glowing streak attacking them, and then you see the hammer, and then, you know, she takes off the hood and it's Amy. And she looks great. I'm super excited we're finally going to be getting Amy and just, you know, a female character in these movies, because I feel like that's kind of is what's been missing, is having a female Sonic character. So I'm definitely super happy we're going to be getting her next, and Metal Sonic. And then the second post-credit scene does confirm that Shadow is indeed alive. Come on, you think they were going to kill Shadow off in the first movie? Yeah, no, that'd be ridiculous. I know technically he was killed off in Sonic Adventure 2, but then, if I remember correctly, it was because of how popular he was that they, you know, brought him back after that game. So yeah. Also, I just realized I forgot to mention, speaking of Sonic Adventure 2, I also freaked out when, you know, they jump out of the helicopter and Sonic says like the line from the game, like, you know, like that, like, oh man, this airline food or whatever, or no airline food, this sucks. We're out of here. I was like, oh. Like, it wasn't until he said that specifically, we're out of here, that I was like, wait a second, that's what he said in Sonic Adventure 2. Alright, I'm just geeking out at this point. I apologize if this is cringe to you guys. Cup. Sonic Cup. Oh yeah, overall, I had an amazing time with this movie. I thought it was great. I freaking loved it as a longtime Sonic fan. And I'm super happy to see that, you know, it's the best reviewed Sonic movie yet. And I do think this will indeed be the highest grossing Sonic movie yet. And of course, Sonic Movie 4 has pretty much been confirmed now for 2027. Is that a long wait? It is, but I'm excited. I'm super excited to see what they do next with this universe. I absolutely love this movie. So I've had it rated. Obviously, I put it on screen here. This was my Letterboxd review that I did for the movie. So if you guys want to know like what I think of other movies that I don't review on here, or want to know like what I think before I make like an actual review on YouTube, be sure to go follow me on Letterboxd. But here's my review I did of Sonic 3 when I saw it yesterday. But yeah, I think it's gonna do it. Let me know what y'all thought of the movie in the comments below. And yeah, and as always, hope y'all enjoyed. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.